Okay, so most people who live in the most typhoon-battered place on the entire planet would leave, right? Like, immediately. But the people of this island, they named it the Happy Island. This is Catanduanes, a tiny island tucked in the Philippines, basically sitting face first into the Pacific Ocean. And yeah, it has officially been declared the typhoon capital of the Philippines. But here's the thing they don't tell you in any travel brochure. Under this island are fossils of creatures found nowhere else in Southeast Asia. The Spanish who first arrived named it something totally different, and the fiber that literally holds the world's banknotes together. It comes from right here. Stick with me, because by the end of this video, you're going to know something about this place that most people on the planet have absolutely no idea about. Alright, so where even is Catanduanes? It's an island province sitting on the far eastern edge of the Philippine island of Luzon, literally the first landmass in the entire Philippine archipelago to be kissed by the Pacific Ocean every single day. We're talking about an island that's roughly 1,492 square kilometers, about the size of a large US county, with a coastline of almost 400 kilometers. Jagged, wild, and absolutely stunning. Now, the name itself is wild. Catanduanes comes from two native words, tandu, a local beetle, and samdong, a native tree species. The whole island was basically called the place where the tandu beetle and samdong tree thrive in abundance. Ancient islanders knew this place so well, they named it after the living things crawling through the forests. That's kind of beautiful, honestly. And the Spanish, who showed up in 1573, led by a dude named Juan de Salcedo, who was literally there hunting pirates. They took one look at the natives living in these thatched huts called cobos and said, yeah, we're just gonna call this place Isla de Cobos, which means Island of the Huts. Very creative, guys. Very creative. Before any of that, though, the very first settlers on Catanduanes are believed to have descended from Bornean Datus, rulers and nobles from the island of Borneo, who first sailed to Panay Island and whose descendants eventually made their way east, island by island, until they hit the Pacific edge. The island had a civilization long before any European ship ever appeared on the horizon. And real quick, before we go any further, I gotta ask you something. Because this island has three nicknames, and they could not be more different from each other. Isla de Cobos, Land of the Howling Winds, and the Happy Island. Drop in the comments, which one of those names do you think fits this island the most? I'll be reading every single answer. Okay, back to it. So let's talk about what the Spanish actually did when they got here. For starters, Juan de Salcedo showed up hunting pirates and ended up conquering the island. 3 years later, and this part is wild, a whole Spanish galleon on its way back from Acapulco, Mexico, got shipwrecked right near the island. The survivors weren't rescued. They were either killed or enslaved. That event is actually commemorated to this day at a church in Bato called the Batalay Shrine. The Spanish didn't just bring swords. They brought the Franciscan missionaries, and starting around 1593, they began evangelizing the entire island, town by town, starting in the south. By 1601, the first government parish was established in Caramoran. Over the next 2.5 centuries, 9 towns were built out, each one anchored by a church. And one of those churches? It took 53 years and 6 different priests to complete. We're talking about the Bato Church, the St. John the Baptist Catholic Church in Bato, which was started in 1830 under a forced labor system called Polo, and wasn't finished until 1883. 53 years, 6 priests, multiple natural disasters survived. And that church is still standing today as the only structure of its kind remaining on the entire island. The walls outlasted everything. Okay, enough history for a sec. Let's get into the science, because this is where Catanduanes starts getting genuinely weird. Under the surface of this island and along its coasts are fossil sites containing ammonites. That's those swirled, spiraling ancient marine creatures from millions of years ago. And Catanduanes has the second oldest ammonite fossil site in the entire Philippines. But more importantly, some of the species found here exist nowhere else in Southeast Asia. Scientists are so fired up about this that scholars have actually proposed Catanduanes be declared a UNESCO Geopark Reserve. A UNESCO Geopark. That means this island, which most people have never even heard of, could sit alongside the Grand Canyon, the Giant's Causeway, and the Zhangjiajie Glass Bridge National Park as a protected geological wonder of international importance. That's how significant this rock actually is. And the Kuroshio Current, one of the most powerful ocean currents on the planet, starts right here, off the eastern coast of Catanduanes. This is the same current that flows all the way up through Taiwan, sweeps past Japan, and powers deep marine migration across the entire Western Pacific. When tuna migrate through the Makeda Channel between April and May, it's literally because of where this island sits in the global ocean circulation system. The island is a marine superhighway. Now, I need you to stop whatever you're doing and really hear this next part, because there is a plant that grows on Catanduanes. It looks like a banana plant. It's related to a banana plant. It's called Abaca. And the fiber from this one plant is so incredibly strong that it is used to make specialty paper for banknotes, tea bags, cigarette paper, and marine rope that can survive the open ocean. And Catanduanes produces more of this fiber than any other province in the entire Philippines. In 2015 alone, Catanduanes' 12,789 Abaca farmers produced 23,550 metric tons of raw fiber. That's a full 40% of the entire Philippines' national output. The Philippines is the world's #1 Abaca producer. And inside the Philippines, Catanduanes is #1. So, by that math, Catanduanes is the dominant source of one of the most important natural fibers on Earth. In fact, President Rodrigo Duterte officially declared Catanduanes the Philippines' Abaca capital by Republic Act No. 11,700 in 2022. And here's the kicker. The word Abaca? The plant is native to Catanduanes specifically. Wild Abaca can still be found growing in the interior forests of the island, uncultivated, just thriving naturally, the way it has for thousands of years. Scientists call it endemic, meaning it evolved here. This island didn't just grow Abaca, it's essentially the birthplace of Abaca on Earth. Okay, so let's talk about why the rest of the world basically doesn't know this place exists. And the answer is wind. Catanduanes sits completely exposed to the Philippine Sea on its north and east, with zero natural barriers from the Pacific. The northeast monsoon, called the Amihan, hits this island every October through January. But that's not the scary part. The scary part is that because of where Catanduanes sits geographically, it's often the first landmass hit by typhoons making landfall. Super Typhoon Rolly, known internationally as Goni, made landfall in Catanduanes in November 2020 as one of the strongest tropical cyclones ever recorded to make landfall anywhere on the planet. Wind speeds of 315 kilometers per hour. This wasn't just a Philippine typhoon, this was a top-tier history book storm. And Catanduanes took the full hit. Roofs gone, trees stripped, communities flattened, and yet, people stayed. People rebuilt, and tourism was back within a year. And that's the thing that makes Catanduanes extraordinary in a way that you really can't explain just with maps and statistics. The island has been hit by devastating typhoons over and over throughout its entire recorded history, all the way back to the Spanish period. Yet every single time, the Catanduanes people rebuilt. Not because they had to, but because this island is home. And that's where the nickname Happy Island stops being ironic and starts being actually profound. Now, here's a part most people never talk about when they talk about Catanduanes. This island is a full-on biodiversity hotspot. We're talking Philippine hornbills, flying foxes, giant pythons, cobras, monitor lizards, endemic frogs found only on this island, and a critically endangered cloud rat, the southern giant slender-tailed cloud rat that's now almost completely gone from mainland Luzon. But here, still spotted, still holding on. The coral reefs here shelter endangered giant triton shells, nautiluses, cone snails, and abalone. Dolphins and whales appear on the eastern coast from March to June, and the flying fish here, they grow to their fullest possible size because the Pacific waters here are so rich. A single flying fish off Catanduanes can weigh up to 300 grams. That's practically the size of a small laptop. I know that's a weird comparison, but just picture that, a flying laptop. And speaking of wild and powerful, Puraran Beach on the eastern coast of Catanduanes is home to what surfers simply call the Majestic wave. It's one of the top surfing destinations in the entire Philippines. International surfers fly in specifically for this wave from July to October, because it is, according to those who know waves, a rare, almost perfect barrel wave formed directly by Pacific Ocean swells crashing into Catanduanes' volcanic reef geometry. Zero hype, just pure physics. Now, before the Spanish came, before the missionaries, before the galleons, the Bicolano people who lived on this island had a complete and astonishing mythology. Their supreme god was Gugurang, who lived inside Mount Mayon volcano and guarded a sacred fire. His brother Aswang, an evil god, was constantly trying to steal that fire. And whenever the people sinned or disobeyed, Gugurang would cause Mount Mayon to erupt as a warning, not a metaphor. A literally exploding mountain as divine justice. There was Bakunawa, a gigantic sea serpent deity who was said to swallow the moon and cause eclipses. And there was Haliya, the masked goddess of moonlight, whose entire cult was composed of women, and whose sacred purpose was to protect the moon god Bulan from Bakunawa's jaws. This wasn't a simple mythology. This was a full cosmological system. Gods of the sea, the moon, the forest, the fire, built by a civilization living on the edge of the Pacific, long before anyone else even knew this island existed. So here's the thing I want you to walk away with. Catanduanes is an island that the world's worst typhoons have tried to erase, over and over again, for literally centuries. The Spanish tried to rename it after huts. Colonial governments tried to fold it into a bigger province, and through all of that, it survived. It kept its identity, kept its forests, kept its reefs, kept its folklore, and kept producing the fiber that literally binds the world's money together. That's not resilience, that's something else entirely. And that's the secret most people don't know. The Happy Island nickname was never sarcasm. It wasn't irony. It wasn't someone in a tourism office trying to spin a terrible situation into a fun tagline. It came from the people. Because on an island that typhoons have raked across for generations, the decision to smile, to rebuild, and to call your home happy is maybe the most radical and profound act of defiance a human community can make. Full stop. If this island blew your mind, and honestly, it should have, then you're going to want to stick around, because we've got a whole series going on hidden islands and forgotten places that absolutely changed the planet. And before you bounce, drop that comment about which nickname is right. I genuinely want to know what you think. Like if this hit different, subscribe if you want more, and I'll see you in the next one.